why, and we gave her the book. She did the evaluation before reading the book and said she has autism. So knowing the whole story, she still documented autism in that child. The next child we took to the regional center only because the PED was doing an exam and asked him questions, and then we got a referral, and I called to say, what is this referral for? And she said, well, I think your child has autism. I'm in a catch-22. What do I do? Do I follow up on the referral and risk what they said that we were repeating? Or do I not take him and get cited for medical neglect because we were in a catch-22? So what we did was we took him. We said nothing. They said he has PDD and OS. He's not eligible for services. We said, thank you, and left. The younger two children, we were too afraid to do anything with until this fall when said they need help desperately. We can't do this on our own. Our 14-year-old was just diagnosed with ADHD and now has an IEP. He was failing miserably in school because we could not say anything. And the youngest was just diagnosed with PTSD from foster care. It isn't from what happened with his parents. It was for the abuse he suffered in foster care and the trauma of being separated from a loving family, that he is suffering deeply from PTSD.
I had talked to you before a little bit about this, and you kind of wanted to stay on the down low because you don't want any, balloons and whistles, and you don't want to get any attention. But you said to me that you're becoming more and more verbal about what happened to you. Can you tell us about what they did to your son in foster care that caused PTSD?
He was the baby. He was a preschooler when they took him. He was put into different foster homes, moved around, and finally ended up in a foster home where 4 of the children stayed until they were released. They were moved like pawns for a while. And the oldest of the 4 relates to us that in foster care, when he would cry for me, they would start taking things away. They would take away his cup so he didn't have a drink. And if he cried more, they'd take away his plate. And if he continued to cry, they'd take away his blankets and take away his pillow until he had nothing. They punished him for wanting his mom. They told the children that we gave them away. We did not want them anymore, that we gave them away. Here is a child, a preschooler, being told that his family doesn't want him and he's not allowed to cry for them. He's a baby. What's he supposed to think? Children that age have to believe those who are in charge of them. It's a survival technique. It's a Stockholm syndrome kind of a thing. You need to believe those on whose survival you count on. So he has.
I'm sorry, Michelle.
My older children knew better. They fought back. The oldest child fought so much that he ended up with his grandparents because no one else could control him. Because they would lie and he'd scream in their faces and he'd yell and he fought back, and he fared the best because he was able to fight, and then he was able to be with people who loved him and let him know that he was wanted.
So your children were kept together, or were they separated?
At first, they were separated, and they were moved frequently. They were taken down to Phoenix and put into African-American homes where they were berated for being white. They were ridiculed for their hair. They were left out in the sun so that one could entertain. One left 2 of them in a hot car. My daughter reports that it was 109. She could see a thermometer. They were in the sun, the windows up, the car was locked, and she timed it because it was one of those time and temperature things that she could see on a bank, and it was 6 minutes, and it got very hot, and she could not roll the windows down because it was locked. This was reported to the judge, and CPS said, no, she made it up, it wasn't true. Questioning of both children separately, the judge believed them, and that foster care home is no longer in operation. They were abused.
Sorry.
They were abused.
Sorry.
They were moved. This sort of thing, my daughter tells tales of abuse that would curl your toes. The other children won't. They won't say anything, though I hear the youngest is finally opening up in therapy. They were abused. They were taken from a loving home. We're a very, very tight-knit family, very close family. We love, we laugh, we're all over each other, we fight, we're real. They were taken from that and put in places where they weren't wanted, where they were punished from being who they were.
So tell me about now. Tell me about what your reunion was like when you finally got all your kids back.
None of us dared believe that it was going to last. We still are afraid when there's a knock on the door. My children and I as well. Terrified when someone comes to the door. Our friends know better. You don't knock on our door. You call. You let us know you're here. You text us. You call us. You don't knock on our door. That's how much fear is still there with the kids and with me. It doesn't go away. It doesn't get better. That nightmare. My kids, the day that they were taken, we had just gotten back from a trip, and we were getting ready to go on another one. We had a full summer planned of really special activities. They were going to go fishing. It was our 15th wedding anniversary, or 13th, I can't remember what wedding anniversary, but it was our wedding anniversary. And my husband and some friends were going to take the kids fishing, and I was going to get ready for our next adventure. The next two youngest came running in. Daddy, Daddy, there's men with guns and badges. And just like that, the police and the CPS workers were in our house. They gave us less than 5 minutes to say goodbye to our kids and gather a few things to shove into a bag, and they were gone. No explanations, no nothing. None of us knew what was happening and why. The kids didn't, we didn't. There was no time for a goodbye, nothing. And then they were gone, and we didn't see them for weeks, and we couldn't get any answers. That haunts them. That haunts us.
I could totally see why. I'm so sorry this happened to you.
All because children, that's what the judge said, children can't recover. If they don't have autism now, they never did. Even though there was testimony that children can and do recover. At the time, the National Institute for Health was doing their study on recovered kids. While the trial was happening, that study was going on, where recovered kids were coming in for a study. Yet the judge ruled that if they don't have autism now, they never did.
So
and the funny thing is that judge, as soon as our trial was over and as soon as he handed down his decision, got bumped up to the state Supreme Court. Nice payback.
Oh my gosh. So who helped you through all this? I mean, you don't have to say any names, but what agencies? Who did you go to for help?
We were very blessed to have been part of a support system of, my husband was a former special ed teacher, so he was familiar with IEPs. Not only did we fight the state many times for our own children, but we helped other families with IEPs. We were part of the ASA, the Autism Society of America Greater Phoenix chapter. We had support systems there. We had DAN, Defeat Autism Now docs. We had local support from special needs. We were part of a special needs group. We were advocates. I was a rescue angel for Generation Rescue. We were actively part of the autism community, fighting not only for our children, but for other children. And those are the people, the parents that came to our aid. Those are also the parents that are still calling me saying, there's another family in this situation. Could you please talk to them and give them some hope? I'm still, within the last month, getting those messages. Please, here's another family. Phoenix Children's did it again.
Crazy. Oh my gosh. It's just so unreal. It's just unreal.
What I want to say to people, you think it can't happen to you. You think, well, there must be more to the story. Well, they did something that caught the attention of someone. Well, we want to believe it has to be something that the parents did, that they somehow did something wrong. Because if that's true, then we're safe because we're good parents. But you can be the best parent in the world, and it won't stop them if they come after you. It doesn't matter how good of a parent you are. It can happen to you. You need to be prepared. It can happen to you. You can't put it off as, oh, well, there's more to the story. I'm too bad for them, but it can't happen to me, because it can.
So your kids are happy to be home. They're recovering from their trauma, and you're getting on with your life, right?
We are. 2 of them are now adults. Now we're looking at whether or not they have the ability to sue. I think it's been too long for us. It's been 6.5 years. I'm not sure of the statute of limitations, and we've never felt safe enough to pursue it. But the children are coming of age where they can sue, and we are considering if we could find an attorney, we might just do that for their sake, to help them see what happened to them is wrong. They need validation. They need to know beyond a shadow of doubt that what happened to them was wrong. And that, I think, will promote healing.
There you go. Well, Denise, thank you so much for your time today. I want to direct people to